Hey folks, it's Marvin Cash, the host of The Articulate Fly, and we're back with another Central PA Fishing Report with George Costa of TCO Fly Shop and State College. How you doing, George?
I'm amazing as always, Marvin. How are you?
And as always, I'm just trying to stay out of trouble, and you have your first taste of the dog days of almost summer in Central PA.
Yeah, I don't know what's going on with that, but this weekend we got some hot weather. A couple of days, we'll see what that does. We could use a little water evaporation, but it is supposed to rain a little bit this weekend. So where are we this week? We are still kind of in high water for most of our streams. We had a lot of rain in the past couple of weeks, a little more this weekend. Should keep those flows up, but I don't think we'll get gross high again. So wading has been a little tricky in some of the bigger streams. Little J is back down to shape, fishable as of today. Penns is still on the high side. Spring is on the high side, but fishable. Same thing with Fishing Creek. So water's up, but we got lots and lots and lots of bugs. Fishing's been better on those cloudier days, a little earlier. Most of the better hatches are going to be right before dark on those sunny days. So we got sulfurs, tan caddis, black caddis, March browns on some of the streams. It's going to be interesting to see what this warm weather does do this weekend. You know, we're slated next week should be the first, sign of the drakes on Penns. I would say mid to end of next week, but we will see. But plenty of action on top, plenty of action nymphing. Streamers were good with the high water last week, so now is the time to fish. So get out there and get some fun with it.
Yeah, and we've talked about the streamer game and, high water before, but I would imagine, on the nymphing side, you're probably talking about with the high water kind of nymphing the soft edges.
Yeah, for sure. I mean, the water when it gets pretty high, there's definitely a lot of fish pushed to the edges. But it's, right back down into shape now. And those fish are going to be still moving into those better seams because that's where most of the food's going to be concentrated for them. So, it's anywhere in the stream right now. Don't step over water is pretty much the rule right now because fish will be right up on the edges in this higher water for sure.
Got it. And kind of from a dry fly pattern perspective, what do you like?
Oh my goodness! I mean, there's anything that's going to imitate, what you're looking to do. So, those sulfur duns are working real good right now. Emergers, and pattern wise, you got to kind of mix it up. You got to have a couple of things in there to change it up with because some fish are going to be wanting emergers, some are going to be wanting duns, and don't be afraid to carry 3 or 4 different patterns of a specific bug in different sizes because they start getting fussy, and you got to be able to switch it up to them.
Yeah, it's interesting too because you always say you got to fish to the individual fish.
Exactly.
Yeah. Well, we have a question for you. People took pity on you. We were so upset last time that you didn't have a question. So Thomas has a leader question for you, and he wanted to get your thoughts on leaders and whether you should make your own pre-made, when you should, use one versus the other, and does it even really matter?
It does to a point, I think. I think leaders do matter when you're fishing to selective fish and when you're fishing in certain situations. So, the obvious thing is longer leaders are required for more technical fish that are a little more fussy. So longer leaders for, softer, more technically difficult fish definitely makes for a better presentation. I tend to use pre-made for the most part just because I'm lazy. But there are certain situations where, fishing for dry flies that I will make a leader. I'm a big fan of making like a Harvey Slack leader for, more delicate, fishing when you actually need a really good presentation and when it really does matter. Now, broken water, choppy water, riffles, you can get away with a shorter leader. Pre-made stuff, I don't think it matters much. But it does matter to a point. So, shorter leaders, choppier, dirtier water, longer leaders, definitely using for, more technical fishing. But building them, that's up to you. I do build most of my Euro nymph rigs. But for dry fly, I tend to focus on more of the pre-made leaders. I think they work good, but I will from time to time build a slack leader if I'm fishing really technical water.
Yeah. And so, on your technical dry fly leaders, do you like 9 feet or 14 feet?
I usually the pre-made ones. I'm a big fan of the trout hunter ones. They come in 12 and 14. 9-foot lengths. Those are really nice, so longer. I like the stiff butt sections on them. Most of my everyday leaders, though, I just like the 9-foot Rios. I generally add a little bit of tippet too, so I'm fishing like, end up fishing like 9 to 11 feet long, somewhere around there. Bigger flies, let's say it's dry dropper with a bigger fly or like a green drake, which you've got coming up. Then I'll reach for like a 7.5 foot, like maybe 3 or 4X. And on a dropper, then I'll run a couple feet off of that. So, I don't have a rule that I follow. I just kind of, whatever the situation dictates, I'll build and work my leaders from there.
Yeah. And those presentation leaders with a lot of that soft tippet at the tip, they're a little bit harder to cast. So do you have any tips for folks about how to cast leaders that, don't turn over quite as well?
Practice. Practice. You just got to focus on getting your presentation on there. It's really hard to turn over a longer leader. So you're definitely going to need to get a little more practice on that and, just develop your casting stroke to transfer that energy enough to get that fly delivered to where it needs to be.
Yeah. I mean, I think the only thing I can think of is feeding the fish, where you kind of can cast above it and basically pull if you have to.
For sure.
You're flying to the fish's lane. That's kind of I don't know that it's a secret, but it helps.
That's like a classic Delaware River style, the fish, downstream to the fish and just get a big mend in there and let the fish see the fly first. So, if you got bigger water and you can do that, that's a great technique.
Yeah. And so are you happy that you had a question this time, George?
I am. It was a nice question. Thank you.
Did your heart grow 3 sizes today?
It did. It really 4. 4. I'll carve the roast beast for us, Marvin.
There you go. So had to work in the Grinch reference for everybody. So, folks,
I like it.
Yeah, we love questions on the articulate fly. You can email us. You can DM us on social media. You can even drop them in the comments to our social media posts, whatever is easiest for you. If we use your question, I will send you some articulate fly swag, and we are in a drawing for something from the shop at the end of the season. And George, before I let you get back to it, you want to let folks know shop location, hours, and all that kind of good stuff?
You got it. We're at 23rd East College Avenue here in State College. We are here Monday through Saturday, 9 to 6, Sundays 9 to 3, on the World Wide Web at TCOflyfishing.com.
Well, there you go. Well, listen, folks, you owe it to yourself to get out there and catch a few. Tight lines, everybody. Tight lines, George.
Take it easy, Mark.